to know the logistical reason to have 10 kids versus having 2? I'll tell you exactly why. As long as you're able to raise these kids correctly, which I would argue is not overwhelmingly difficult, if both the parents have a pair on them and they're not afraid to be parents and, be the primary influencer in their children's lives, you can actually mold your kids to be better than you, smarter than you, more articulate than you, more, having read more literature than you, all those sorts of things. Healthier than you, too, if you feed them the proper diet and you don't cut corners. Before you know it, you could have a baseline of 10 kids, and you could all be living in a large house together, paid off, because that's basically 12 incomes right there. Even if they're all minimum wage incomes, it's still 12 incomes. And you get to skip around the high tax ratio because it's 12 people working minimum wage jobs versus one person working some high class job making X amount of dollars a year. That's the reason that they have turned men and women against each other, because any man or woman with half an iota, I don't even know what that word is, iota, I just use that word because it sounds smart. I don't know, I'll look it up later, but any man and woman with half an iota of common sense understands that if you want to get financial freedom in the American economy, even in the economy today, it's all just a matter of compound interest, monthly contributions to your diversified portfolio, and then you rinse and repeat. Okay? You sacrifice a certain amount of dollars per month towards that portfolio. Okay? And you make sure it's a diverse, safe portfolio. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. You put one egg in every basket. That's how you do it. That is how you do it. Okay? Any man or woman with half an iota of common sense would do that. And then, as soon as their kids are able to start working, i.e. the age of 16 commonly, but I promise you, you can find your kids a job at 14 and on. And even if they're making a measly amount of money, and they're making like the bare minimum 10 grand a year, you can leverage that income. Okay, you can leverage it, and you can put it towards assets. Okay, you can put it towards precious metals. You can put it towards real goods. I'm talking about firearms, ammunition, gold, silver. You can put it towards land. You see, if you have a man and a woman and 10 kids, they're indestructible. Okay, they're indestructible. If they have land and they're all self-sufficient and they know how to hunt and they know how to process meats, and they are you can't do anything to control them or manipulate them. They're untouchable. And if you have a million families like that, all of a sudden you have America back. Okay? That's not what America is today, and that's why they make men and women hate each other. Okay? If they make men and women despise each other, be suspicious of each other, assume the worst in each other every single time they have an interaction with each other, that never happens. And if that never happens, they keep you and me on the working plantations, still working, however many hours a day, however many hours a week it takes just to function and live wherever you're at. And they keep you, you're just your head above the water. So you can't ever think about this. And you can't think about the logistics behind it. And before you know it, you're stuck in a never-ending cycle. And you probably don't even get the chance to have kids. Maybe one of your siblings does. But you don't. Guys, gals, please, I'm begging you, stop looking at the people you see on the daily basis as your enemies, because they are not your enemies. They're not. Alright? All the nonsense you see on the internet, it's all echo chambers. It's all, it's been coerced and it's been cultivated, I think, by algorithms, and I think by, inherently devious people who want to keep the little guy and the little gal down. And I'm referring to me and you, whoever's watching this video, because it does not take much to make a person self-sufficient in the world. There is so much natural resources. You could completely regenerate, millions of acres of farmland by ranching. Funny how that works. And you could have everyone be healthy, and you could drive down the cost of meat exorbitantly. I know what that word means. You could drive down the cost of meat exorbitantly, and all of a sudden you're able to feed your kids real food, and all of a sudden they're all growing up all right. Their brains are fully developed because they're being given brain food. And by the way, meat is a brain food. Fruits and vegetables are not brain foods. Those are poor people's starvation foods. They've always been that, by the way. Don't believe me? Why is it throughout history it's the kings who have access to meat, and the kings who have access to sugar, and the kings who have access to the scarce resources? Okay? The peasants are the ones eating loaves and barley and potatoes. Don't feed your kids loaves, barleys, and potatoes. Feed them eggs. Okay? Feed them meat. Damn, my eye got a little sick. My fault. Feed them real food. Give them sun. And do everything in your power to be the primary influence in your kids' lives. That's what I think. That's what I'm going to try and do. God willing.